Well, good morning. Welcome to our New Testament challenge as we're in John chapter 11. Before we go into John, I just want to challenge you. When you're reading through something and you're familiar with a story, like we are today in the story of Lazarus being raised from the dead, we've heard this story in Bible lessons, we've heard it in sermons, and it's so easy when we're reading to kind of mentally skip ahead. We know the outcome, so we feel no tension. It's like watching a football game that's been recorded and you already know the score. There's no real tension there because you kind of know the ending. But when you're there, if you can step back for a minute and imagine what the people who were experiencing it were feeling. Imagine you're reading it for the first time. And I think it's important because it gives us an insight into something I think that we can apply today. Remember, Christ gets a call, he gets the word from his friends that Lazarus is sick to the point of death. Remember, Lazarus was a friend of Christ. Martha and Mary and Lazarus, brothers and sisters, were very supportive of the ministry of Christ, supportive in being there, supportive financially. And you know, when they heard Lazarus was sick, they had to be happy to know they could get a message to Christ. And having seen the miracles he had done, knowing Christ could perform a miracle and heal them. But it says when Christ gets the word, he waits for 2 days. Now, see, it's easy to skip past that and get to the end and just, we know the outcome, so it doesn't matter. Christ is waiting because he wants to do a better miracle than raising a sick person. But have you thought, how does it feel for the people in the story? I mean, do they understand? And I don't think they do, because Martha comes to him when Christ finally goes to the town and finds out that Lazarus is dead, which he already knew. Martha kind of says, Christ, almost a rebuke, if you had been here, he'd be alive. And Jesus encourages her that he's the resurrection. She still doesn't get it. And you know the story. Christ goes, he raises him from the dead. But what I want to apply today is how many times we get upset at God because he is not on our timetable. See, we know that God is omniscient. We know he's omnipotent. He can do all things. And so when we ask God to do something and he doesn't do it, when we think he should do it, we sometimes get confused. We wonder, is God there, or does he care about me? Why isn't he involved? And we don't understand there's a bigger plan at work. Just like Martha and Mary and Lazarus himself couldn't understand why in the world would Christ delay coming, you know he waits because it creates a more powerful miracle. And where Christ says, I am the resurrection, he now proves it by raising someone from the dead. You know, we're going through some tough times now with the COVID-19 and some, work being shut down, not able to come and worship together as a congregation. And it's easy in this point just to say, God, couldn't you just take care of this? I mean, can't you take care of it like that and just pull this thing away? And God could. And yet God has the ability at times to do things that we may not understand at the moment. We look back and see that he has done something even more incredible. I mean, you know that we're experiencing more people watching us online than ever were in our facility. You know, we have people connecting on Zoom Bible studies. Who knew we could do that a few years ago? And we may look back, and this may be God planting the seeds of revival in our nation. Though COVID-19 is not a good thing, God has that ability to work all things to the good of those who love him, those called according to his purpose. So in these moments when it feels like God's being slow or he's not moving the way we would want him to move, at those times it takes faith, that ability to step back and say, God, I know you're there. I know that you care. And I'm trusting. Though I would do this differently, I know obviously, God, you know the right. You know what will glorify yourself, and that's what he will do. And I think when we do that, we may look back as Mary, Martha, and Lazarus would have looked back and thought, wow, what an incredible thing he did. We may look back and say this that we think is so awful, God may use it for a greater good, something that starts a revival in our nation, maybe in our world. Pray for that. And at times when you feel God isn't there or he doesn't care, know that he is, know that he does. And faith is that ability to wait and trust him when we don't have all the answers.